This is Rhea, and this is Just the Who of Us, where we talk about a range of topics, including life events, current events, spirituality, entertainment, family relationships, as well as answering listener questions and more.
For some reason, I had it in my mind that it was your mom that died. It was your,
Oh, I would not I wouldn't even be here right now. I already told her when she passes, everyone better leave me the hell alone for a minimum of 3 weeks. A
yeah.
minimum. I don't want to be bothered. So I would still be at home ignoring everyone.
Yeah. My mother, she was in the hospital for 6 weeks. They sent her to a nursing home to recuperate, and she ended up in the ER that night and was put on a ventilator. And I told them no disconnect for like 2 weeks because she was when they eased up on her um medication,
Mhm.
was alert. She was in there, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, but we finally, I got her alert enough to answer. She couldn't talk, but she could nod her head. And I said, she was pulling like she wants it out. I said, if they take that out, you'll die. And she nodded. And I said, is that what you want? And she nodded.
Yeah.
Um, I still wonder sometimes if I did the right thing. She wouldn't have they took it out and she didn't, I mean, it seemed like she took a breath or two and then she was gasping for air.
Yeah.
If you ever have to have somebody taken off a ventilator, don't be in the room because that's what I see.
Well, yeah, that's what happened with my father. Well, that's not actually what happened with my father, but he was taken off while we were in the room, but he was I think he was already basically dead. I mean,
Yeah, same thing with Dan, with my
yeah.
husband. So how long has it been since your grandmother died?
Um, I want to say 2 weeks.
Oh, so you're still fresh.
Yeah, I want to say 2 weeks. It wasn't this, hell, I don't even know. I don't think it was this past Monday.
Mhm.
I think it was the Monday before, the 7th. This, well, the seventh was the funeral.
Okay,
She
that's what
passed away.
was there a funeral?
Yeah, she passed away a whole week, a whole 8 days before the funeral. So the funeral wasn't until, so she passed away 3 weeks ago then. And then we had the funeral. So she passed away on Sunday. We had the funeral the following week on the next Monday.
How'd you do with that?
Um, the funeral actually I did okay with.
Her
Um,
wasn't unexpected, was it?
Not really. She was 97.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, she was 97. And so the Friday before, my mom reached out to me and my cousins and was like, "Hey, you guys might want to come say your goodbyes." So we got to do that um on Friday, and then very early Sunday morning, she passed away.
Was she alert when you talked to her?
Yeah, she was awake. She could hear what we were saying.
They say that the hearing is the last sense to go.
Yeah, yeah,
Like we talked to Dan, the entire time he was unresponsive.
yeah.
Um, he was probably laughing internally at his sons. Um, so how are you doing now?
With her death in particular, I feel like I'm doing okay as I sit here getting emotional, but I feel like I'm doing okay. There's other things that happened that took a bigger toll on me. But as far as her death, no matter how much time you have to plan, not plan, but prepare for a death, it's still painful. It's still so I'm still grieving it, but I feel like in terms of dealing, I feel like I'm doing okay in that part. And I think that's probably because of her age.
Yeah.
And then I like actually I've had deaths before where it's like they dropped and now we're in the hospital taking them off life support. Um, so I think the fact that I got to say goodbye uh makes it a lot easier, plus the age component.
So it's nice to have no regrets.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. When it comes to her, absolutely not. No.
But when you have a death, especially somebody that you're close to, it brings up all the other losses. It,
Yes.
it refreshes them. And I know you're thinking about your dad, and I see your dad brain book behind you. Um, so yeah, I think that gets complicated. And
Yeah.
you have to just kind of sort out your feelings, what pertains to this one and what pertains to the others. And even if you think you've processed the others, it's still going to come up, at least memories will.
Right. Right.
And go ahead and, you're not being disloyal to your grandmother by thinking about the other people. It's okay. You can follow through on the memories, the good ones especially.
Yeah.
But it's okay to cry or to feel for somebody else. You can process those, don't live in it, but um, and then you're a little more free to process the grief for your grandmother, for the more recent loss.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't do that, if for some reason you can't quite figure out who you're crying for or whatever, it could be everybody,
Yeah.
just go ahead and lean into it and feel whatever it is you're feeling. It's cathartic. You know, most people say after a good cry, they feel better. For me, after a good cry, I have a headache.
Right. I need a nap.
Yeah,
I'm tired now.
but you're a person like me who doesn't cry much and doesn't give in to that. I mean, I kind of force myself not to, and there's a lot of people like that, especially if there's other family, like you want to stay strong for your mother
Yeah.
and your sister and other relatives. I know that about you.
Yeah.
Oh, so you might not lean into your feelings. You might kind of push them aside, and that's okay in the moment. But then when you're alone or you're not with them, go ahead. Go ahead and feel whatever you're feeling. If you're angry, if you're sad, whatever because so many feelings can come up. Regret of something that happened 20 years ago. You feel guilt about that. And
Yeah.
obviously, if you were still close to that person, they've forgiven it, whatever it was. So, and you probably have too if it was something they did.
Yeah.
Because they're gone now. They can't, if they were somebody that hurt you, they can't hurt you anymore. Um, we often love people that hurt us. And
Yeah.
that's a tough thing to handle when they die, because you almost feel relief that they're not going to hurt you anymore. But there were parts of them that you really loved and you have good memories. And I say, go ahead and process the negative emotions, get those out of the way. You know, write a letter, scream into your pillow, maybe. Take a shower and turn the fan on and everything, and then you can cry good in the shower. Um, okay, take a walk. Or if you're that kind of person, go for a run
Yeah.
because movement release, especially if it if it makes you sweat and makes it hard to talk while you're exercising, that
Hmm.
releases endorphins that make you feel better.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
yeah, it's a quick fix, but those endorphins can stick around for a while. And then you can remember, well, okay, I felt this way, but then I felt better. And that helps you with the next wave of it coming up. You know,
Yeah.
you got through it before, so you can feel the feelings and you can
Did
get
I
through.
though? Did
I
I though?
should get a shirt that says "Feel your feelings."
You know, I used to be very much like I don't have emotions. I don't show emotions, because most of my, which wasn't true, not because, but it wasn't true because I did show a lot of emotion. It just came out of anger,
Yep, yep,
frustration,
it's my husband.
negative emotions. I try not to, like, I try to intentionally show positive emotions with my family, my friends. My husband is very much a I love you all the
Oh,
time person.
it's so sweet.
And I've never really been like that. My mom, you're not an I love you person. With my kids, I am. When they were little, especially, I made sure I told them I love them all the time. And even now, we still do, but I've never, in relationships and even like with my own parents, I just wasn't. And my
Yeah,
husband very, very much so is. And so I've even been intentional in that, like to make sure that I just randomly say it to him because I know that he needs it. He like,
it's his love
it
language.
it
Yeah.
means yes, yes,
Verbalizing it is his love language. Yeah.
yeah. I
And
guess in my mind, I was like, well, I just try to show you, and then you should just know, which, you know,
actions are yours, doing
yes,
something for somebody.
yes, yes, yeah,
Mine is just being there for them.
yeah.
Things are not going well, or even if they are, that's my love language.
Yeah,
Um, and everybody has different ways of showing that they love people,
yeah.
and it's all okay.
Hmm.
It's wonderful that you found your husband and he's bringing out that a little bit more in you
Right.
so that you can verbalize what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And he's there to support you. He's there. You probably gained strength from him, right?
Sorry. I don't know what happened. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see,
Very
and
much so.
yeah, just remember that he needs you too. Some people are too giving, not too, but to their detriment. They give
Yeah.
so much that they have nothing left for themselves. So, in a moment when you're feeling kind of okay, be there for him. Ask him, men don't usually like it, but he sounds like he might, how you feeling? Did this affect you, whatever this is, the death or even just something something that somebody said, you know,
Yeah.
tell me more about it. Are you gonna just ignore it or, are you gonna do something about it? Did it, especially if it's something somebody said, did it ring true to you and that's why you're upset? Or, all kinds of things. You don't have to psychoanalyze him, but just
Yeah.
know that if he wants to talk about it, you're willing to listen.
Yeah.
And the biggest part of being there for somebody is being quiet, learning to shut up and let them talk.
Mm.
I have a problem with that.
I'm trying to be better.
Yeah. Yeah. See, what we do, we talk to people for a living.
Right.
So, it's like, okay. going forward, like I said, go ahead and feel your feelings. But if you feel, and you are the only judge of this, you're the only one that can figure it out. If you feel like you're in your feelings too much,
Hmm.
then, we can come up with some steps to help you, move forward. I don't
Yeah.
move on, move forward is much more positive. And especially you. I think I didn't know you, 10, 20 years ago,
Mhm.
but I think all of the challenges and the losses that you've had in your life have made you a stronger person, a more empathetic person, because you've been caring for your mother and your sister and other people that are affected by things. Um, and I think it makes us braver.
Mhm.
We're not afraid to try new things. We're not afraid to, I mean, for a while we withdraw. I know I
Right.
did. I withdrew for like 7 years. I didn't do
Yeah.
any. And a lot of people are like that.
Yeah.
7 years is a long time. So if it goes on for maybe 7 months,
Right.
then you need to work on it. But there was nobody like me back then. It was 11,
Well,
15 years ago. So
yeah. I was gonna say, and look where you're at now.
yeah,
Like
I wouldn't, the me of 15, say 15 years ago, wouldn't recognize the me now. I
same. Yeah.
going on a podcast, if somebody put, there are very few pictures of me
Uh-huh.
from back then, at least, because I would hide from the camera. Um, or I'd be taking the pictures.
Right. Right.
So, and just, talking to people is, I'm an introvert. You wouldn't know it, but I am. I have my extrovert moments.
Right.
I have to take advantage of them when they're there.
Yeah.
Uh, but, I think it's made you a better person than you would have if life had just gone on, fine and dandy. And you're still young.
Yeah.
And so you've got the fact that you've experienced such growth is something to be really proud of. And you've got years and years. If you live to be 97,
Right.
you've got all those years to grow even more, to love even more, to help others as you're doing with your podcast and your books and all of that. So when you get into the, oh my God, this all happened to me, think about that. Think about, you know, okay, this all happened to me, but it made me who I am now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think you do that to some extent, but not maybe when you're down in the depths of despair.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's hard to pull out of. It's hard to tell yourself, oh, wait a minute. So maybe put something on your calendar, like once a month or something, especially if this is something you deal with.
Yeah.
You need to pull yourself out because a lot of people do. You'd never know it, but they suffer from terrible depression. Look at
Yeah.
Robert Williams. People like
Yeah. Yeah.
nobody realized he was like that. And
Yeah.
to do that. Twitch, the dancer,
Yeah.
I loved him.
Yeah.
And nobody would expect,
Yeah.
it's a
Well,
surprise.
because they're busy entertaining and taking care of other people
Yes.
to
Yeah.
mask what they're going through themselves. Yeah.
They can't express their inner feelings because it's not expected.
Yeah.
So if somebody is going through something like that, well, first of all, get help, please.
Yeah.
What is it? 811 now? That's the hotline. I think it is.
Let's see.
or 888. I think there's an 8 in there. I should have that tacked to my wall.
988.
988. Okay.
Yeah. 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline.
Yeah. And that's national.
Yeah.
I don't know how many Canadian viewers you have, but that's national in the United States. I don't know what it is in Canada. I think they've got, but also, so if you're that on the edge, please call and get help. Listen to what they have to say. They can, maybe help you locate a therapist or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you just have your down in the dumps kind of thing, and it lasts, a couple days or more, and you don't like it. You want it to go away. You want to feel better. Sometimes a day of just feeling sorry for yourself is okay.
Yeah.
Just don't take it out on other people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Just, keep it, well, not keep it private. You can let people know, I'm just not well today.
Yeah.
I'm not I'm too much in my mind, maybe.
Right. Right.
So if I'm off, please forgive me. And most people, they'll accept that. The people that try to force you to be happy, they're annoying. Because I used to be like that. Like in high school, I'd be, smile. And it's like, no. I'll smile, but I'll growl at it.
Right. No, I want to 100% second that because, getting help is always the best option. Um, I This week has been better. Well, it's only Tuesday, but this weekend and week has been better. I've been really busy. The 2 to 3 weeks before, between her passing and really the 2 weeks after, were rough. There was an incident at the funeral, and it might have been more traumatic than the loss, but it impacted the funeral because it happened at the funeral. And like,
Yeah.
um, I was having a really rough time, and at one point, I told my husband, and then at my daughter, I said, I'm not okay. I was not okay. I am doing better now because I took necessary steps. I acknowledged that I was depressed.
Yeah, that's the first step, is to recognize it and acknowledge it.
Yeah. Yeah. But
People. I'm so glad you told your husband. I think that's a really good step.
yeah, at first I didn't because I said, well, I can just get through it, and I've been through this before, and whatnot. But when I felt, I, my husband kind of like, hey, you should go do, like get out of the bed. Don't, honestly, had he not encouraged me so much, I might have just tried to stay in my bed for a week. But between our conversations and he's suffered loss too, and he knows, he spent a couple days in bed more than he should. And I'm glad I got up when I did. I'm glad I started trying this healing process and things, and just the encouragement I have from people. um I didn't spend as much time in it as I could have, and I think that's important to acknowledge. Um, you know, I didn't want to stay there, and I knew that I don't know. I don't feel like I've ever been in a situation where I've never been suicidal.
Mhm.
And I wasn't. My doctor asked me, and I was like, no, I have too much to live for was my initial answer, like
Yeah.
I've got too many people, I've got, too many things. But I my initial, as a mom, as a wife, well, I still got people to take care of, but as a mom and as a wife is also just as important to anybody who's listening that you take care of you. And if you feel like you feel like you're depressed, taking care of yourself is taking care of your kids and your husband too.
Yeah, you're no good to somebody else if you're not available. And when you're depressed, you're not available.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, I've got a checklist. It's so basic. It's get out of bed, take a shower, get dressed, have a healthy breakfast. Just I think it's like 5 or 6 things. And I tell people, put it opposite your toilet or
Hmm.
next to it or whatever, so that you have to see it every day, you know?
Is this is this the on your website? Is this the free self-care checklist?
Yes.
Okay.
Um, I hope the links work. I recently had my website redone, and not all the links work. So I've got to get in
Oh,
there.
okay. I
Um,
well, I went and I signed up and it looked like it accepted it, but I didn't get an email, so I was gonna let you know.
oh, okay. Okay. I'll have to fix that then. Thank you for letting me
You're welcome.
know. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's super basic, but I needed it, you know,
Yeah.
7 years after my husband died. I needed it. Um, and a lot of people do, just to remember that you're important too.
Right. Right.
You're not taking care, I mean, a day or two in bed, everybody's, expects something like that maybe. And
Right.
but if it goes
Yeah.
into, a week or more and you just can't function, you
Yeah.
can't you can't go to work, you can't take care of your family, you can't take care of yourself. That's when you need to, pick up the phone and call somebody and or tell somebody, if you're living with somebody, husband, wife, older children maybe, tell them, I'm really depressed and I need help. And
Yeah.
maybe just talking to them helps, but you know, those are things that you can do. Normal grief, there's no such thing. There's no such thing. It's different. It's different for every person, and it's
Yeah.
different for every loss that you feel.
Yeah.
You may not the loss I felt after losing my husband, and then my mother died 2 years later. Those two griefs were completely different. I did not grieve
Right.
the same way. Um,
Right. Yeah.
with my mother, we'd talk every couple weeks. I'd visit her a couple times a year. She lived in Florida and I'm in Virginia. So,
Hmm.
for a week or two, a couple times a year. It wasn't like we lived together and I saw her every day and we talked every day. So I
Yeah.
was able to transition, I grieved and we had the funeral and it was beautiful, but my son almost dropped the casket.
Oh,
He, he got his hand pinched between the casket and the door of the church and he had to let go.
oh
And
my gosh.
and then the one thing I'd said to them was just don't drop grandma because all of my sons were pallbearers. And they said, just don't drop grandma, please. And they laughed because he'd already done it. um, but take things. I mean, I could have been upset. I could have been mad about that,
Yeah.
but I laughed, because
Yeah.
it was over, it was done with. There was nothing I could do. And I've taken that attitude a lot since my husband died. And I think a lot of widows do. They don't get upset about things that they would have before. They
Mm.
don't I don't worry as much. Now, maybe if I had little kids or even teenagers, that might be different because I'd worry
Yeah.
about them, how they were responding and that kind of thing. But my sons were adults and they were on their own and you know, I didn't show them my emotions and they didn't show me. It was a mutual hiding thing.
Yeah.
But where was I?
About the so, you know, a lot of wives, they don't worry
Oh
as
yes,
much.
yeah. It changes you without you even realizing it. You know, you don't get as obsessed about things that you might have before. I always had to have, if we were going somewhere, I had to have everything ready. Like, well, I wanted it ready the night before. It usually
Right.
didn't happen till like 5 minutes before, and I'd run around like a crazy woman trying to get things done and whatever. Even if it was just my husband and me going for a drive, it's like, okay, where's my purse? Where's my headband? Because he didn't believe in using the car AC. He wanted the windows open. So my hair was all long and it was always in my face. So where's my hair thing? And it was all in my purse.
Yeah.
Because I never took them out. But it was that kind of thing. And now it's like, yeah, if I'm a little late, I'm sorry. If I get there on time, okay. Or if we're just going for a drive, well, that's supposed to be relaxing. What are you stressing about?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do that now. I don't even think about, I don't have to say, okay, relax. Because other than losing my kids, any one of them, um, the worst that could happen has already happened. And, anything else that happens that day, doesn't matter.
It's so, yeah, so minor in comparison. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people can benefit by that, when they're deep in their emotions. Just tell yourself, whatever happens isn't going to be as bad as what just happened. Um,
Yeah.
so that you can focus on your grief instead of the little things that are going on. I was very lucky. My husband's sisters came, and they don't live near us. They had to travel. They came, and my niece, she's wonderful. They cleaned my house for me while I sat in my office and took care of paperwork and made phone calls and just kind of removed myself from everyone and everything without necessarily being rude.
Right.
My house
Yeah.
has never been so clean. But yeah, so you can do things that serve you. You know,
Yeah.
you don't unless you have young children, you don't have to take care of everyone.
Mm.
And yeah, I know you need to remember that. Helping them, once in a while, with some things, that's fine, especially if it makes you feel better. But don't do it because you feel you have to, because it's your job. Well, your children are your job, but
Yeah.
your sister, your mother, if they know you love them, they know you're there for them. They
Yeah.
know that they can pick up the phone and call you or stop over or whatever, and you'll be there for them. But you don't have to be there to make sure they're taking care of themselves or whatever.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
you probably liked it with your mom, right?
There was a couple days the first week after, you know, because there's all these arrangements being made, and I planned to be there every single day, Monday through Friday, that whole week. And there was a couple days that I called and she's, you know, well, we've got to go do this and this today, so I won't be home. And after the second day, I was like, I just want to help. You're
Yeah,
not letting me help. But she didn't need it that day. You
yeah,
know, like she wasn't going to be home. There was things that had to be taken care of. And that was just me like, oh,
yeah. It
you,
wasn't
you,
it
this.
wasn't so much helping her. Helping her was helping you.
Yeah, yes, yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but just don't do it to replace your feelings.
Yeah, yeah,
As a way to hide what you're feeling, a way to dismiss. Oh, well, it was her mother. She was only my grandmother. So, she's going to miss her more. She's going to grieve harder. Well, not necessarily, I mean, like I said,
yeah.
everybody is different and every
You know,
grief is different.
yeah, I did that with my father too. You know, as you know, I don't know, whoever's listening, how much they follow along, but I know that you know how our relationship was, and my sister grew up with him there. I grew up in a different state. Our relationship was much different.
Yeah.
I won't say better or worse because of things my sister went through with him. But I was like, well, this grieving isn't really about me. Like that's his wife and that's the daughter that grew up in the house with him. And I definitely did that. Like they need to grieve more than I do, but they were phenomenal. They both were like, no, are you crazy? That's your dad too, I'm over here like, no, 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 I just need to get over it, and they were like, no, be in this with us. They included me in everything.
Yeah, but
It was, yeah, yeah, yeah,
now.
yes, yes. It took some time, but and honestly, I think certain losses have brought us closer. Like it sucks, but and then you look back at people's lives, right? My stepmom and my mom both, they were confined to their home really because they cared for these people, the husband and the mother for 24/7. And now it was kind of bittersweet initially for my mom because she's like, well, now I can go do the things that I would like to do. And it sucks that I don't have my mom here to take care of, but I can go live my life now, and same with my stepmom. I miss him deeply, but looking at it this way now, I can go live my life because I cared for him until the end of his or her for the end of hers. And now I can live mine, and that's what they would want me to do, you
Yeah,
know?
a lot of women, I haven't talked to enough men about this to know, but a lot of women, it frees them up. Even if they weren't caregivers for their husbands, they get to do things that he didn't want to do. He didn't like doing, and you didn't really want to do it alone, but like
Yeah.
I said, you get braver. And I've taken myself out to dinner or to lunch. I've gone to a movie by myself,
Yeah.
I bought a ticket to a concert, nothing big, but a local. Um, I went to Ireland. I went on a cruise. I did things that I wouldn't have done if he'd been around. A
Hmm.
lot of women,
Yeah.
have told me that. And I think if you process your grief and in a healthy way, which means feel it, but don't live in it, um, you can end up with a fantastic life. Just don't let your grief drag you down. Yes, you're always going to feel, you're always going to miss the person.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
always going to love them, but it's okay to be happy. It's okay to do the things that you wouldn't have done before. It's okay to you know, live your life. And if that means, if you were happy with the life you had, continue that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think especially younger widows, they have a lot of growth. Um, they become people that they never thought they'd be.
Yeah, I see that in my stepmom. She's done a good bit of, things that she wasn't able to do before. And I can see it in my mom too. She's going out to lunch with her friends, just very minor random things that before it was like, well, I can't,
Yeah, yeah. My mom, she continued her life. She was into volunteer work and she was involved with an organization. She was state president at one time of this organization. And so she continued with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But she moved to Florida to be near her sister. My mother had mobility issues that her sister just, she didn't have the patience for.
Mm,
I mean, it would take 5 minutes for my mother to walk from one end of the house to the next, you know.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
her sister just, she didn't have the patience for that. And her sister was very, she's my aunt now, and she unfortunately has dementia, but
Mm,
she's always been very busy. You know, she's been involved in organizations and things that my mother wasn't. So,
yeah.
moving down here to be near her sister, and they didn't really get together, and she didn't really know too many people. And yeah, I think in the end, because there was no one thing that she was sick with, it was a lot of things.
Mm.
The 6 weeks she was in the hospital, a lot of that they were fixing bleeding ulcers in her
Oh my
stomach.
gosh.
Yeah. Um, she just missed my father and wanted to be with him. She never said it,
Yeah.
but she talked about him a lot more than she did in the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was 13 years after he died. 13, it was 13 years after he died. She died on December 13th, Friday the 13th,
Oh,
in
God.
2013. So, yeah, it's something about 13 is
Right.
her number. But yeah, that was weird. And you know what? It's kind of therapeutic to see those kind of things, you know,
Yeah.
to to, to get the connections with other things. Like my husband died exactly 10 years to the day after my father died. And
Yeah.
and that, it's just kind of okay, maybe it was a coincidence, but maybe it wasn't. You know,
Yeah.
I kind of like that. Some people think it's creepy. I like it. Um, yeah, in the beginning time, process your emotions. Don't live in them. Don't let them take over your life. Some people will say, like you, it's been 3 weeks. Well, it's been 3 weeks, and she was only your grandmother, because maybe they weren't close with their grandparents.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
For friends and family, if you have a friend or a family member who has lost somebody, don't put your expectations on them. Don't say, well, I recovered and whatever. Um,
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
it, it's like, and if say they meet somebody in 3 months and start dating, well, it's only been 3 months. Or for me, I get, well, it's been 13 years. What's wrong with you? You're not dating. Well, there aren't a whole
There's the
lot.
number 13 again.
Yeah, there aren't a whole lot of single male Catholics in my area, especially, in the South. You just don't get it. Um,
Well, but I did that with my aunt a little bit. My uncle passed and it felt like the next time I saw her, she was in a relationship. And I was just, I remember the first time, because again, we live in different states. So I go down there. It was probably like Thanksgiving or Christmas or something like that. They didn't just start dating and he didn't just pass. Like some time had passed, probably like a year. But in my brain, it was the first time I'd seen them together. And I pulled my sister in her bedroom and I started crying. She's like, "Oh my God, what's wrong?" And I was like, "This is so hard." Like,
yeah, yeah,
ah.
because you didn't see it develop.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
for you, the loss was still kind of fresh because you hadn't seen her.
Right. Like I didn't see them all like, every day or every weekend or, it had been I don't know, a few months or so, maybe 6 months. But Yeah, I mean, but they're so happy. She's so happy. Like they're married now and integrated families. She has the kids she never had and it's great. It was so good for her and I'm so glad. I'm
Yeah.
so glad that happened for her
I
now.
don't know, I don't know if I've told you this. I had a group, a live, online group, but it
Mhm.
wasn't a Facebook group. It was, we met via Zoom, I think every week. And one of the gentlemen and one of the ladies started talking outside the group and hadn't met, in person, but decided they were in love with each other. She moved several states away to be with him. And not long after, they went to Ireland and he proposed.
Oh,
And this all happened in a short period of time. I think both of their losses, they were widows and widow, she was a widow and he was a widower. I think both their losses happened in January, and by June, they joined me in February maybe, and by June they were together. Yeah, and they're so happy. You see their
yeah.
Facebook pages and stuff, and it's like, oh my God, and they travel and do all kinds of things. And so I'm so happy for them. Now, I'm not
Yeah.
a matchmaker. I had nothing to do with it other than my group, or, we had the
You
group
provided the
sessions.
meeting place.
Yeah. And, sometimes that's really good because you already know their story.
Right, right, yeah.
You know what they've gone through. And because, in a group, it's safe.
Right,
Everybody shares.
right. Yeah.
They processed what they needed to process. Yes, they still miss, um, their original spouse. But
Yeah.
I heard of one lady, she wasn't mine, but I heard of one lady that told her new husband, it was like on their wedding day or something, they were going home, and she told him, you do know that if, say Dave, her former husband, her late husband, if he just suddenly appeared, I'd drop you like a hot potato. And he said, yeah, I feel the same about my wife. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
especially if a widow marries a widower, I think because you understand. But
Right.
even if
Yeah.
you marry, find somebody that's divorced or never married, make sure you talk about your feelings with your, about your late spouse, so they know, so they hopefully you can help them understand. They won't completely understand if they haven't lost anybody like that, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they can't put themselves in your shoes, but um they can they can empathize, they can love you. They can show their love a little bit more when you need it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, dating is that's completely up to, each individual, and it's not, don't listen to what other people say.
Right. Right.
I
Yeah.
know they say, don't make a decision in the first year of grief, even if it's not a spouse, it could be a parent. Um,
Hmm.
if it hits you hard, really hard, harder than you expected, um, it may be harder to move forward.
Yeah.
It's okay, process. I'd say if, after a year, you're still, not even a year, after 3 to 6 months, if you're still crying, sobbing every day, you need a grief coach, a counselor, a therapist, something. You
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
somebody to help you through that. Um, if it's, once a week, once a month, or just when only when you hear a certain song, or, things like that. That's normal and that's okay. And that could last the rest of your life. Every once in a while, something will come up and it will remind me of Dan, and not necessarily a good way. It doesn't make me smile, it makes me sad.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have normally. Uh,
Right.
I went to the doctor's office and I heard Michael Bolton was singing it, how do I how will I live without you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
Whitney Houston song to begin with. But it was a cover, definitely. And I swear they must have had it on a loop because it really bothered me. And I never really thought about the song before. I didn't like it or dislike it. It was just music. And while I was in the waiting room, it was playing. When I came out of the doctor's office and went through the waiting room, it was still playing, and my doctor stopped it quick. So it must have been like on a loop or something. So
Right.
and there's a tendency to use something like that to affect your entire day. And it doesn't have to. You get
Yeah.
to choose if it's going to or not. Um, a lot of people, well, not a lot, but some people disagree very strongly with me. But I believe that happiness is a choice. You can choose to be miserable or you can choose to be happy, no matter what your situation is. You can be in a horrible situation, but still have a positive outlook on life.
Yeah.
There are people that do that.
Yeah.
And it affects people around them. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
it it can make things possible that you didn't think would be.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can definitely choose to be happy. And that really helps you, with all facets of your life. Just,
Yeah.
I'm not going to let this make me angry. I used to, get so upset with, I had mm, mild road rage. I'd call people names where they couldn't hear me. Yeah. And now I just say a quick prayer. I just pray that God gets them where they are going, because they're probably speeding and cutting people off is what I hear.
Right. Right.
But I say, God bless this person, get them where they're going safely, and don't let them hurt anybody else.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So, I don't know if it's helped. It helps me. So
Well, it helps us because it regulates our emotions and we're not reacting angrily. And
yeah.
yeah, I get it. I notice a lot of things since I changed the way I drive, since I have worked on speeding and being aggressive and all those. It's part of a lot of changes I'm trying to make in my own life with my emotional reactions and things. But I've noticed certain things. I'm like, you know what? Like it lack of turn signals used to really piss me off. I hate it. Why can't you just
You live in Virginia because nobody uses turn signals
it
here.
doesn't make sense because this is what I teach my kids. It should just be a natural part of your driving.
I turn
If
on,
you,
I signal when I'm turning into my driveway.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
And but I'm like, you know what? People are gonna do it though, right? Like me
yeah.
getting pissed off about it
Isn't going to
doesn't
change
change
their behavior.
yeah, like so I can just control my behavior. I can make sure I'm using my turn signal. I can, I have teenagers who are starting to drive and I'm really trying to modify my how I am because
Yeah, you
well,
want to model positivity to
I've
them.
already taught one aggressive driver. She drives like a crazy person. And I'm like, well, that's pretty much my fault because I taught her how to
Yeah,
drive by not even directly teaching her
for
how to drive,
watching.
but her being in the car with me. Yeah. So yeah.
Like that old commercial, a kid was using drugs or, pot or something, and the father said, where'd you learn to do that or whatever? And the kid says, I learned it from you.
hmm
So
Yeah. They
they
watch
learn,
us.
they learn lessons from us without us realizing we're teaching.
Yeah, yes, yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
The best advice I think anybody ever gave me came from my mother, and she wasn't known for really good advice, but she told me, you can't control other people. You can only control the way you react to them.
Yes.
And
Yeah. Gosh, that's some, yeah, my brain is having to learn that.
it's
Yeah.
a hard lesson to learn, and it's a hard lesson to adapt if you're
Yes.
to I was kind of a whiner, you know. I was like, oh, my day was so bad that, this happened. I had a hangnail, stupid things. I mean, I would just, I spilled something on me, but you couldn't see the stain, so it didn't matter. It's stupid things would, and I was a complainer. It was just kind of who I was.
Yeah.
And I realized that at some point in my life and realized, yeah, I wouldn't want to be around me if I was somebody else. You know,
Right.
I think I was around somebody who was like that. And I realized that I was doing it too.
Yeah.
Because we do, you get with other people without even realizing you're doing it, you want to one up the other person. If they're saying they're happy, well, you want to be happier. You
Static.
want to express that something happened that was even better than what happened with them. Or if something bad happened, you want to find something in the back of your brain that was worse than what
Yeah.
you're about. And we have to actively turn that part of our brain off.
Yeah.
Be happy or sad, whatever, for the other person. Make them come first.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Not to the extent of ignoring your own needs.
Right.
Uh, don't be a whiner. Write it in your journal, or create a very private vlog that nobody else will ever see.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're better at talking it instead of writing it, you know, um, there's so much recording options out there. Just record it, for yourself. You can delete it if you want. You can keep it and look back at it and say, boy, was I stupid. Or, yeah,
Or
yeah,
voice memo. Like take a
yeah,
voice memo on your phone.
yeah. Yeah, there's all kinds on your phone, if you have the app, you talk to Chat GPT and it will talk back. So you can, like, if you're driving, you can ask it a
Huh.
question or you can tell it. I have a friend who teaches about AI and
Hmm.
she uses it like when she's walking the dog and stuff, and something pops into her head, an idea. And so she'll tell AI all about, or chat all about it and say, what do you think about this? How should I start this? What's my first step? You can
Yeah.
ask all kinds of stuff, and it's amazing what it will come up with. And it's not all just, write a book using Chat GPT and make $1,000 a day. That doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen commercials on TV where it was AI generated. The
Yeah.
people, the people don't look like real people. They don't
Right.
look like a cartoon either. So, it was AI.
Yeah.
Um, I watch a lot of YouTube videos and the commercials in between or during. Um, a lot of those are AI voices
Hmm.
you can recognize. But
Yeah.
some of the AI programs, you can you upload your own speech and it will copy it, and very, very convincingly. It doesn't
Uh-huh.
sound like a robot.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
How did I get talking about that? That's what you and I do,
But we've only done this once today, so I think we should give ourselves a pat on the back.
Yeah, that's the next time. So,
Well, let's wrap. We're gonna wrap up here. I have a question for you um, I stop recording, but um, it was as always, absolutely wonderful to have you on. And I think getting people kind of a glimpse into what a session with you would look like is a was a phenomenal idea. And I'm glad we did that. Your wisdom and advice always helps me a lot. Even if we're just chatting for the podcast or, it's always really helpful. And I really, really value and appreciate
Yeah.
everything that you say. So I'm super happy that you're back and hopefully I've been gone for a while. I've taken a break for a
I,
while.
my
Just
podcast has not had anything to do with you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but I'm back and I'm getting back into the swing of things. And so hopefully we will be hearing from you, again soon.
I always love talking to you.
Same.
If this had been a true session where you were going to continue to be a client of mine, we would delve more into what you're feeling, what your concerns are about what you're feeling or doing. And then, I might give you a few steps to work through that. And then we'll talk about it like at the next session.
Yeah.
That's how, we work. I don't necessarily well, I guess I do give advice, but I give more actions.
Yeah.
I like having, because you can listen to somebody and agree with them, and 5 minutes after you're done talking, you didn't know what you heard. You didn't know what you thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you have homework, you're gonna maybe remember, even if you don't do the homework,
Yeah.
you're gonna know that, oh yeah, that's right. I looked at it. I don't know if I want to fill that out, that kind of thing. Um, so yeah, and I don't talk about myself that much like I did this time.
But I think that, I think that in particular in this kind of setting, it is helpful because we're also trying to reach other people who, have had similar experiences and are at a complete loss. They don't even know if they need a grief coach. They don't even know if they're grieving, yet.
Yeah,
So I
a lot of
think
there's,
that,
there's what I call hidden grief. It's
yeah,
there and it's affecting your life, but you don't know it.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, tell everybody where they can find you.
My website, which is still under construction, but it's a whole lot prettier than it used to be, is cindyjburns.com. And my email is cindy@cindyjburns.com.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you for being here and see you soon.
Thank you for having me.
Check us out on YouTube at Rhea Higgs, ReaHagues. You can also keep up with us